One. Let's go. Normal clap. Welcome back, one and all, to another episode of Thrifty Riffs, the show where I go and I hit up op shops and I find albums that are at the end of their life, so to speak, and review from there. You know, everyone's reviewing new music. What about music that's been abandoned, thrown away in the bins by the supermarket, only to be saved and brought to a new loving home, which it'll get to say, and I've got my big bookcase there of 1,000 CDs, and if today's CD is good enough, it will join it. And today's album is Motley Crue Shout at the Devil. Crikey, what a classic. I picked this up. I want to say it's Savers. I can't exactly remember. Maybe not actually. It doesn't have the giant residue from where I would have got the sticker off, because those big Savers stickers are so annoying. It's got a small residue mark, so it might have just been a Salvos or a Vinnie's or something. Either way, Motley Crue, Shout at the Devil. Their second album. Yes, that's right, second album. And this isn't the album cover I'm used to. Normally it's got like the 4 photos of the band members. This one's I don't know if it'll show up well on camera. It's black on black with a black pentagram gloss on a black matte background. It's really nice, and dare I say, the black on black effect. I think I like this more than I like Metallica's Black Album, which is the most famous of Black Albums, I'd say. I'm currently in low lighting, and I've only got my Kirby neon light lighting me, so it's hard to see, but yeah, I quite like it. Kicking off the album, the intro track in the beginning, I always forget it's there. It is so campy and out of place on a glam rock album. It feels like I'm about to listen to some like epic fantasy metal album, some like, you know, early Blind Guardian or something like that. And then it just goes into the title track, Shout the Devil. I'm like, oh, this isn't what I thought it would be. Yeah, weird. Anyway, one of the first things I know listening to this is that people give Vince Neil a lot of shit these days, and maybe it's a bit deserved. You always see footage of him at a recent solo show or Motley Crue, 600th reunion show, and he's gassed and you can't understand a word he's saying, but go back and listen to Shout the Devil and tell me a word he's saying. I think he's actually been incredibly consistent, except for the getting out of breath. He does need to work on his fitness, but he's also quite old. But yeah, he kind of was always unintelligible, so I think he probably gets a bit too much shit for being unintelligible in this day and age. That's just me. Other than that, just a classic, hard rock, hair metal, whatever you want to call it, album. It is, and I think for the large part, Motley Crue as a whole, you could apply this to discography, they just write good songs. They write entire albums of like good to great songs, and then occasionally they've got like a 10 out of 10 album. I wouldn't say this is a 10 out of 10, but I think they've definitely got some in their discography. And yeah, basically this minus the intro track, that weird transition track, God Bless the Children of the Beast. Again, I feel like I'm listening to some medieval fantasy. I feel like I listened to the Diablo 2 soundtrack when God Bless the Children of the Beast comes on. It's just truly bizarre. I don't know what they're going for, because the vibe doesn't flow through the rest of the album. It's just those 2 tracks. But I'm harping on it. Everything else, basically classic. The only one I really don't care too much for is Red Hot. I could take or leave that. Everything else, Danger's at least different, so it has a unique reason to be there, whereas Red Hot's just a real weak riff, weak lyric. You probably could have cut it and have a tighter 10 songs instead of actually cutting that would drop it down to 32 minutes. Yeah, alright, keep it there. This is actually a reissue or a anniversary edition. It doesn't say that anywhere on it, so I don't actually know what it is. But it has bonus tracks. It's got Shout at the Devil, the demo, Looks at Kill demo, Hotter Than Hell demo, which we'll come back to, an unreleased track called I Will Survive, which shows they did actually cut bad songs from this album, because it is nothing special. And then one more demo for Too Young to Fall in Love. And the demos are pretty cool. Some of them, it's like, yep, cool, this is obviously just an early version, and they polished up a lot. Looks at Kill has a harder chorus chant. The chant at the end of the chorus where it's like, she's got the looks to kill. On the album version, it's like a gang vocal, and a kind of soft gang vocal. On the demo version, it's a single vocalist, and it's a lot harder. It's almost barked, and I like the way it hits. I kind of wish that, they kept that. Hotter Than Hell is a straight trash demo, and it makes you appreciate Louder Than Hell, the song they've released, so much more. So that's it's it's not something I actively look for when buying albums, that they have cool bonus tracks or demo tracks. I guess at this point it's just looking back on the band's entire career now. It's cool to see how the sausage was made. It's cool to see, what got polished up, what just didn't make the cut. So, yeah, not bad. One thing that I don't think they get enough credit for, and shows really well on this album, is the emotional depth. If you look at Too Young to Fall in Love, 10 Seconds... what's it called? 10 Seconds to Love, Bastards... Bastard, singular, and Danger, you've got 4 completely different vibes. Put together by guitar tone, vocals. It's just... I really don't think they get credit for their emotional range in their music. You kind of think of them as just a bit of, cock rocky, pretty boys, makeup, songs about Hollywood and shit. But no, they've actually got, surprising depth to them. And I don't think they get enough credit for that. In fact, as a whole, I think Motley Crue will be a band that gets its flowers after they call it a day. They do kind of tread on their own legacy, especially these days, with, reunion shows that aren't good and band members who just aren't fit to be playing anymore. But I think eventually, when they finally lay it all down, we'll be able to look back and go, you know what? When you put all the personal problems aside, Motley Crue were a very good band. And I feel right now it's still a dirty conversation to have. People be like, oh, but Vince Neil killed his best friend drink driving, and, Mick Mars was made to play guitar for years after he should have retired due to his physical limitations. And they kept bringing the band back after saying that they were calling it a day and shit like that. Yeah, those conversations, once they're put to bed forever, I think we'll well just be able to ignore them and say, yeah, Motley Crue, basically their entire career slapped. I don't like the album that doesn't have Vince Neil on it, but a lot of people do. That's just me. Anyway, we're not talking about that. We're talking about Shout at the Devil. We're just going through my notes here. But yeah, I think they write hits by the album full. And while the heaviness is well clipped, you have to put yourself in a 1983 person's shoes when you listen to this and be like, whoa, actually this was heavy and evil as fuck. Whereas now it's just super camp. You saw this come out, you'd call it a Western visual Kai band. You would even call it a metal band. But back then you have to be like, oh yeah, this is new, this is shocking. And I think while that shock's worn off, the energy's still there. They do have some super energetic songs. And I think that'll be eternal. I don't think they'll ever wear those out. Overall, looking at the entire track list, I don't think any of their best hits are on this album. A lot of hits are on this album. When they play a set list, I'd expect to hear a lot off this. But I don't think, you'd be closing with anything on this album, or opening with anything on this album. Actually, that's not true. You could open with Shout at the Devil. That's always going to be good. But yeah, so that is Motley Crue, Shout at the Devil. This one's definitely saying, I'm a big Motley Crue fan, but I don't have many of their albums physically, so this one's definitely saying the collection. It's coming home with me for sure. And yeah, I hope that eventually we can all look back on Motley Crue and say, you know what, they were pretty alright. And not have to mention anything else that, was brought up in The Dirt, which was a fun movie, but yeah. It definitely showed the band in a negative light. Let me know what you think of the album, and I will see you sometime soon with the next one, which, she's talking about bands that got more hate than they should. The current Op Shop album in the CD player is Nickelback, so can't wait to get into that one. Alright, till then, keep well, and enjoy good music.